Hello, welcome to the Weekly Outlook. It is July 20th, 2025, and we got some exciting times going on in the world of crypto. Markets are booming, and everyone's talking about Altseasons, and Ethereum's going up, and everyone's excited, and we've been here before, right? At least this might be the third time in the last year or so, and that got snuffed out every time before. Is this time different? Let's find out. We're going to go over some key levels to watch for, not only with Bitcoin, but with Ethereum and the altcoin market, and how Ethereum is doing compared to Bitcoin. And if we're going to have a real alt season, Ethereum needs to go first. At least that's what history tells us. And so far, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing Ethereum pretty much dominate the market over the last 2 weeks. So if this continues, can we expect a real alt season like we have seen in seasons past? Maybe, maybe not. I'll let you be the judge. I'm just going to show you the charts and show you what you might be able to expect once key levels are broken, and we're going to go over those key levels. So if you like this kind of content, please hit that like and subscribe button down below. I'd really appreciate it, and let's get on with it. So here's our Bitcoin chart, and I got a lot of stuff in the way of the current price action because I've been monitoring it closely on the shorter term time levels, but I wanted to zoom out here just to kind of show you what we have so far. So far we have our bear market downtrend being measured, and for 2 years now I've had these bull market targets marked on my chart. If you've been following me for any length of time, you've seen this over and over and over again. You probably have memorized all these numbers by now, and we are getting close to target number 2. However, if we use our pivots, which I love to use because it gives us intermediate support and resistance lines in between those major fib levels. And so if we go ahead and throw those pivots on, look at where we have our local top so far. It nailed it almost to the dollar right here at the R2. Gave us this kind of spinning top hammer doji candle, whatever you want to call it. And so now we're getting a little bit of resistance on Bitcoin. Usually that's bad news for the whole market, but in this instance, it's been good news for altcoins. And this is typically what you'd want to see for a precursor to a real alt season, or for Ethereum to at least start outperforming. And so far that's what we're getting. So let's go look at Ethereum. Ethereum has blasted from the lows all the way back up to its highs again. We've been here 1, 2, 3 times in the last year and a couple months. So let's call it 15 months. So does it do it this time? Did we shake out enough people in this dip to finally break this $4,000 mark? That is the key mark to watch for, 4,000. Will we hit it? It's very likely. It's definitely the resistance. We've hit it each time we've made these power moves up to this level, so we do likely hit it. What happens when we get there? That's the big what if question, right? Are we going to get through? If we get through 4,005, let's just call it 4,006, and we can close a weekly candle above this level, then that opens the gate for these TP levels above. Now again, you're going to want to use your pivots, right? And this wants to keep asking me to update it, which is real annoying. But you want to use these levels. Notice what we have here. We have an 886 fib. We have our trend line. We have our R1 pivot, all in this vicinity here. This is really strong resistance. Nothing we don't already know. It's happened several times before, but now we actually have the indicators on the chart showing us that that's what's happening. So if this level gets broken, we can probably expect this level to hit next, followed by the previous all-time high, followed by that level there. Let's go one level at a time. But once it does break, I do expect some sort of consolidation, some sort of maybe flaggy kind of pattern on top of it. That's what I would like to see. At least that would give me some time to accumulate. But I still was happy with my trade from down here on the bottom of the pennant up to this mark here, where I gladly took 80% profits and have not bought Ethereum since. I did, however, buy Aave. I'm still happy holding Aave. However, over the last 2 weeks, I definitely would have been better off in Ethereum. That's okay. I can't nail it all. But if we do break this mark, and I've been saying it for a long time, I'm not buying Ethereum again for a long-term hold until it breaks this bullish pennant. And yes, this is a bullish giant pennant. However, there's still a lot of room in this, right? Like, for all we know, it's going to reject here and come back down to the bottom and then try again, and then maybe a second time or a third time. I don't know how many times. Maybe this is it. Maybe it doesn't need to. I don't know. But what I do know is I'm much more confident holding Ethereum above this mark, and I will gladly buy it at $4,000 if it shows me it can get over it and hold. So that's how I'm playing Ethereum still. I'm not going to get baited into this and this and this again. Just not going to do it. I gave away a lot of profits when I thought we were going to break last time, and I was, in from the lows. So I could have sold at 4K instead of, I think, somewhere around 2,500, which would have been substantially more, right? So if I just follow the chart instead, I should be able to secure more gains than if I were to hold and just hope that it gets through, right? And that's the difference between being somebody who trades based on charts and being someone who trades based on feelings. Now, this time is a little bit different, and I'm going to show you a couple reasons why. Ethereum Bitcoin chart on the weekly is now bullish. The EMAs have crossed. Okay, so that is a big deal. That 8 EMA is now above the 21, and we haven't had a bullish 821 EMA cross on Ethereum since June of 24, which was quickly turned bearish again and didn't really have much momentum after the big candle. So let's see if this big candle gives us something more. We do have a fib cluster here around the 0.032 to 0.034 mark. So this is something we're going to want to watch when we throw our pivots on. You can see we did close over that one, and once again it wants me to do this every time. Okay, so we did close over that, so that's a great sign, right? We closed over that pivot. Somebody's got their mic on. Hopefully that was it. So let's see if we can hold the 0.03171 mark. Let's just call it 0.03 really for ETH Bitcoin, and if it does, then great, and we can continue higher. Let's look at altcoins and total market cap. So this is total 3 slash Bitcoin, and what this does is it measures how altcoins are doing versus Bitcoin. And we can see we had a big bullish week last week. This is a giant bullish candle after we made it to the golden pocket. Golden pocket is where things usually get bought up. Sometimes it'll come to the bottom of it, and sometimes it just dips in a little bit, like just its toe, and then it jumps out of it, and that's what we got going on so far. So at the very least, I can see altcoins continuing against Bitcoin higher, at least up to this trend line. Now, I don't think it's going to just like go straight there. I think we'll probably get hung up around this 7.94 to 8 million mark, and after we get through that, then we can make it up to the next level. So if you've been fortunate enough to buy altcoins during this recent dip in the last couple weeks, you've seen some pretty significant gains in a very short period of time. So perhaps you want to take some profits at the 0.05, maybe the trend line, and then wait and see if we break through. There isn't really any divergence here to see that would indicate to me like this is a confident bottom. And that's really the only pause I'm giving on altcoins at the moment, because usually you would see that where you would get a higher low on the lower low in the price here to give me some sort of divergence, but it's pretty flat and equal. We do have a MACD cross down here, but again, we're below center. This isn't quite completely bullish yet, so we're not in an alt season quite yet. It is looking very good as a start to one, but like in terms of where we are in an alt season, if we're to look back at history, we're like here, right? So there's still plenty that needs to happen, like a couple more candles to get us over the EMAs a little further and solidify ourselves on some support first to really have confidence that we're going to get a move like this one, or like this one. But usually by then it's like, oh, I wish I bought sooner, right? But then again, it could just be like this, and then it just barely moves, and then we go into another downtrend. And so you never really know, and so you just got to take your shots. If you think this is it, you take your shots, and then if it doesn't work out, you're gonna lose a lot. And so just be ready for that. Like don't cry. Like you got to only invest what you can afford to lose. These are altcoins. They're the most speculative, volatile, riskiest assets in the world that you can buy. And so you need to treat them that way. you can win big or you can die. That's how these work. So like I like to say, if you can't take the heat, you got to get out of the kitchen. All right, I know. My dad used to say that, so it's kind of a dad thing. But all right, so let's go look at total 3 itself. So if you take this little minor downtrend here, we closed above that, and we're already finding support on top of that line to start our new week. So that's a good sign. You could try to use that if you'd like as some risk tolerance, right? Like take your shots here, and if we close a weekly candle back below that mark, maybe just dip out and wait. But we are through the greed FOMO zone once again, and so probabilities say that this uptrend continues. However, there is some divergence to be seen, right? So you have this clear downtrend. It hasn't quite reached it yet, so there's still room for this to move up. However, if we go look at USDT dominance, this is breaking down below trend. This is the all-time trend line, right? This is like the forever trend line. And we are breaking down below it once again. We closed the weekly underneath it. So this chart can now continue lower. As dominance for stablecoins decreases, crypto should increase. So that is another good sign for crypto. Potentially bad signs for crypto is this here on total market cap. So RSIs have trend lines just like price action does. And when price is increasing while RSI is decreasing, that's what we call bearish divergence. And we saw it a long time ago here, and that marked that local top. And that's when I sold most of my crypto. And I was happy I did it until about, I don't know, now, when we're just now eclipsing the previous highs. So now is my time to maybe start taking risks again. And maybe I will. We'll see. I'm still not completely sure. I don't like hitting this trend line, right? Like I would rather be over that trend line. And so maybe I wait another week and see if we can bust through it, or if this is indicating another local top here and we just trend sideways for the next 4 months. Who knows? That's what it's been doing each cycle, or this cycle in particular, where it makes these big moves and then trends sideways for months, makes big moves, trends sideways for months. And now we got another big move. So what's going to happen, right? I don't know. All I know is that we are at a high risk, high reward scenario at the moment, so treat it that way. If we look at how Bitcoin's doing against the NASDAQ, we are getting very tight in this rising wedge pattern, and every time it gets close to the top of it, it rejects and heads to the bottom of it. Eventually, we are going to break out of this rising wedge. Maybe we break to the upside, maybe we break to the downside. Probabilities say this will break to the downside because it's a rising wedge, which is a bearish pattern. However, I have seen them break to the upside, make a quick move up, and then terminate back down through it again. It'll do that to fake you out. It'll do that to make you take the trade before you should. So it's always best to wait till it breaks out of the pattern that you're seeing and then take the shot. Let's see, Bitcoin. Yep, so we want to watch for 123.2. That's the mark we want to see break. And then you're really probably only going to get to the 1.414 from there. And then hopefully what we see is Bitcoin just continually trading sideways or slightly down while Bitcoin dominance continues to fall. We could see it fall down back to that 0.5. Never quite made it to the golden pocket. Time will tell if it's actually going to or not. We are still in, an uptrend. If we just take this basic line here, we can see we're getting close to hitting that. So perhaps if that line touches, we see Bitcoin dominance take over again. And then what happens to alts there is probably not going to be good until we break that trend. So maybe you want to wait for this trend to break to take your shots on altcoins, right? Right now, what we have on alts, and I know everyone's like, oh, alt season is starting. But really what we have when we compare it to Bitcoin is a dead cat bounce at most. Like this chart here, at most is just a dead cat bounce so far. Like we had a large sell-off compared through Bitcoin, and now we've just had like 1 or 2 weeks of a nice movement, right? And we've seen that before, and then it doesn't materialize. So just don't get too excited yet. Like don't go throwing all your money in altcoins. I'm not doing that. If you want to do that, great. You might be right and you might become a millionaire, right? You also might lose it all. So If that's the risk you're willing to take, be my guest. I'm going to wait till I can be a little more confident. If you want to wait for ETH to break 4K, that could be another cue. Right now, we're at a very pivotal point where everything could be really awesome, or it could just be another fake out, right? So take that for what it is. Let's see. ES. It's been steadily grinding, but really we haven't gone anywhere in going on 4 weeks now. And then if we look at the NASDAQ, it's been like hitting its head on this trend that stretches pretty far back to the highs of 21 through our recent highs. And so for the last 4 weeks, it has been grinding higher, but it's really just going with the trend line. And so we'll see if it wants to, it's kind of currently over it, depending on, where I actually put this line, right? Like, what if it's there? I don't know. Trend lines are subjective in that manner. That's why I like going with fibs or the pivot points. So we'll see. Maybe it wants to try to head for that R2 and then reject. But we've been over the 8 EMA on both the NASDAQ and the S&P for quite a while now, and probabilities say that at some point after being over it without touching it for an extended time, that will likely get some sort of pullback back to the line eventually. If you just go back and look here, for example, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the fifth one started heading back to the 8 EMA. Here you got 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth and sixth one started heading back. So typically that's what you see after being that high above the EMAs for 4 to 5 weeks in a row. All right, so I think that covers everything. Oh, the dollar strength is another thing to watch for. It's bouncing off of that 18-year trend line, and so if this does continue to head higher with any real momentum or volatility, then that could indicate that there's going to be some weakness in the markets. Okay, the other one I was looking at was Sol. It just closed over the weekly pivot, and it's kind of been lagging Ethereum over the last couple weeks because Ethereum took over, but we did close over the weekly pivot, and 177.50 is now support. EMAs are now bullish again, so it should hold that pivot if it's going to head higher. And so that could be a low risk shot you could take there. You can see the RSI is just close to breaking through bullish here, and our MACD is turning up higher and crossing over center currently, so it could be an early indication that this is going to head higher. All right, so that takes care of all the majors, and I have XRP and Link dollar cost average trading bots that are in beta right now. If you want to try them, they are free right now, and you can just create an AstroBit account and instant message me your email address associated with that AstroBit account, and I will get you set up to use the free beta on those. Bitcoin DCA strategy is doing amazing. It still has not taken a loss. The current live testing of XRP and Link trading bots also have not incurred a loss, and it's back tested 219 days, which never took a loss during that period as well. They are great strategies. All right, so let's take some chart requests. Hart has a bunch of them. He wants to start with Fartcoin. Let's go, Fartcoin. All right, we're all squished here. It certainly looks bullish, and we'll go ahead and use this like this instead. And that 786 is the enemy. Notice also how that pivot is right there. So this is your mark to watch for. That is resistance. It has been, and it has not broke yet. So if we can break 155, 156, break that level and hold, then we can see a significant increase up to the $2.03 level. If we were to use a long position indicator here, let's just say we wanted to enter on that support, we could keep our stop loss probably, gosh, that's way down there. I probably have to use that level, and our take profit would be here. So that's a 3.7 It's not bad. And you would have to get it as close to that level as possible after the break. Right now we're in between two major levels, so it's not really worth the risk taking it either way. If you're a holder, then yeah, I would say it's worth holding at the moment, and hopefully we can break through this greed FOMO zone, break 203, and sky's the limit. So that would be pretty crazy. but it's doable. It's crypto. So if we do get an alt season, this is where I think we would go. If we fizzle out, then we have a hard time with the 786 and it kind of double tops here. Tau. What do I got multiple MAs on for? All right, weekly. It's funny because I can't tell if it's a distribution or an accumulation. So here's your distribution, right? And this would be like the last hump. And then this could be the reaccumulation down here. So ideally, we want to see it break above this level here. I know the weekly pivot is at 460, but you can clearly see it likes to break above that mark numerous times and still fail to actually get over it. So I've put a blue line here at 489.42, and that's the line I want to see break, and I have an alert there. So if it breaks that line, it will alert me, and I would take the trade from the blue line to the yellow line. And I have this set up in a way where if we ever do break down below the red line, that's when I want to short this into oblivion in a bear market. And if we break above the blue line, I want to long it to the yellow line. Once the yellow line breaks, then I'm longing it to this mark here. And you might be asking what that mark is. It's simply the take profit zone of that retracement. Okay, so that'd be where I take it if that yellow line can break. So that's my trade plan with Tau, and currently I'm doing nothing. So I'm just waiting for my alerts to go off. Either the blue line alert's going to go off or the red line alert's going to go off first, and I'll take my trade according to that. ENPH. Is it ready to buy that thing yet? Let's go see. I have an alert on it. I don't think it's hit. 39. We got to be getting close. Okay, yeah, there's my alert. So I'm waiting for $31 to $32. 31.62 apparently exactly is my alert. So that's where I want to buy it again. And so I'm still waiting. OSCR. OSCR health. Health stock. Yeah, so it's kind of pulling an Ethereum, right? Like it won't get over that 786 3 times in a row, and until it does, it's probably not worth buying. And if you've been holding from these lows down here, then that means it's time to take profits, because we got a triple top rejection at that same mark. EMAs on the weekly are pointing down, and even though it's had several like crosses in here, like bearish, bullish, and now looking bearish again, that's just indicative of like a distribution. So it wouldn't be something I would be holding right now. I wouldn't be a buyer here either unless it broke over that $19, $20 level and held it. And I'd be a seller personally here if I was in from these lows. GLXY. I mean, there's not a lot of chart history, but it's definitely bullish. Is there a bigger chart somewhere? Oh, I've heard of this. Galaxy, yeah, okay. I've heard of this freaking company. It's new. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna do well. I mean, we're oversold on the daily. I don't know, there's not enough history. What's this look like? It's breaking through, so if you were in early, then this should be your take profit targets if we can get there. 30 to 35 range. Yeah, that's about all I can offer until we get more data on this chart. How much percentage are the bots up overall for all three Bitcoin, Link, XRP? I haven't checked the last couple days, but last I looked, Link was up about 11 to 12% in its first however many days. What's it been, like 12 days? XRP's up like 25% to 30% in its first 12 days, and I'm running 3 times leverage, so factor that in. And then Bitcoin, I've already eclipsed 50% at 3 times leverage since I started the beta less than 3 months ago. So it's outperforming the market by far, even with this bullish move. So that's what I love the most. And then even in a bear market, they're going to do well because bear markets don't just go straight down. They'll come down and bounce and then come down and bounce and come down and then have a rally. And so the way that I've created them is to be great in both types of markets. Obviously in a bull market it will be better, but even in a bear market it'll still perform because it'll be able to take advantage of those bear market rallies that we inevitably will get. They're very easy to set up. I have instructions in the channel, and there's a channel dedicated just for setting it up. It's called Bonsai Bot Setup. And then if you have any issues with the setup after following those instructions, feel free to just message me and I'll help you along. ETHBTC support is really great too. They're really good at handling issues on the back end since they built the bots. I just provide the strategies. So I can help with the strategies, they can help with the bots. All right, so let's see. Arrow. That's a crypto. Which one? Let's go with Coinbase. I think it's a Coinbase type token. Well, I mean, you got this obvious resistance line here. And let's see where we are here. Okay, so we're turning bullish. We have nice 8 EMA confluence with the 0.5 right here at 80 to 81 cents. So that would be your support. You can see that's what was resistance for so long, right? And then that last candle broke above it and closed, and that triggered the move higher. And there's no real pivots in this section until we get to the golden pocket. So if probabilities serve me well, this is likely where we're headed. And then we'll see if we get any sort of golden pocket sell-off, and then a return, and then ultimately we need to break 148 to go see new highs. But it's definitely bullish, and you got 81 cents as your support. Let's call it 80 cents since it's crypto, and we could wick all the way down to the 21 for all we know at 76 cents. Below 76 cents means trouble. Sui. See how all these altcoins are just now turning bullish on the weekly, right? So, and this looks like it's been consolidating in a pretty tight zone, and that broke that resist. Oh, look, it just broke it. So that's now your support. This could potentially be worth a trade very soon. And I won't say now for the NFA non-financial advice thing, but if you took your long here, you could keep your stop just below the trend line, and your take profit would be up here at the R1, and that could provide a nice trade. If you wanted to be a little more risky, then you would want to keep your stop loss down here. So let's say it's a spot trade, then you would want to keep your stop loss below the 21 EMA and this pivot here at 318, and your take profits would be, let's see, I guess we would go off of, let's just see what this looks like. So that's already in that take profit zone. Let's go with this one. Already hit that one. So if it's going to try for a third round, then you can see that 786 is our current enemy. Resistance, resistance, support on top of the golden pocket. That's what you want to see, right? So here's the pattern, right? We have our downtrend, move to the golden pocket, 786 touch, rejection, return to the golden pocket, finding support in it. It should take that move up higher now. That's the pattern that you want to see. To be more confident that it's going to continue, you want to see it close over that 420 mark. And once it does close over that 420 mark, it should head higher to new highs. And then 730 Anywhere from 6 to 730 here in this range would be the take profit target on a spot shot. If you're going to try to leverage this, then you would want to enter as close to this trend line as possible. Your stop loss is going to be underneath. That's a lot. It would have to stay underneath that 385 level or the trend line level. If you go any further, you can only risk like 2 times leverage, 3 times leverage to make sure you're not going to die. So take that for what it's worth. Galaxy has more history on Canada Exchange. Oh, sweet. TSX, is that right? TSX. Galaxy. Aha, okay. Cool. All right, well, then that's where we are. Come on. There we go. All right, great. Yeah, so we're through the greed FOMO zone. We had our pullback. We're back up. The only thing I don't like is this guy right here. So there's a little bit of room left to that line. So that could take us up to the all-time high, but really we need to break 4670 to go see 1.272 up here. What's that look like? Yeah, same thing. There's a little bit of room to the RSI line. I would take profits as soon as that RSI line hit that trend, and then wait and see if it can break through. So possibly gets to 4420 here shortly, and maybe eclipses an all-time high, and then we'll see if it can get above that and then stay on top of it for consolidation for higher. Okay, 2 more. Neo. Man, I haven't looked at this one in a while. I took this one for a ride many years ago. Perhaps it's time to do it again. No, not quite. So it's making a nice move. It is divergent. It's bullishly divergent. Come on, give me the MACD. It's not quite up there yet, but it could be. It could be the bottom. It looks like either a golden pocket or a 786 down here. Let's see. I didn't quite get to the 786. I would put an alert right here. And once we break that spot right there, I might be interested. Ton. All right, last chart request. Yeah, that doesn't look great. Wait, is that? Yeah, that's the right one. Yeah, it doesn't look great. It's not bullish on the weekly like many alts are, so I'd be waiting on this one and be looking at other ones. Let's see if it's even. I guess I'd go there. Yeah, so the 1.618 on the downside is the current resistance. So if it can clear 330, then yeah, maybe it's worth a shot. That's the current resistance though. But it doesn't look nearly as good as a lot of the other altcoin charts we covered today. All right, thank you everyone. I appreciate your time. Thanks for showing up. I'll post the recording for this in the weekly outlook section, and let's see if Ethereum can break 4,000 this week, huh? Let's cheer it on. Go slap it. Go buy some Ethereum. No, I'm just kidding. Not financial advice. All right, have a good day. Bye.